The funny story is, uh, the one time I was playing, and it was with this same band, and for some reason everybody was gone on that week but me and the drummer. And I'm like, this was before the Black Keys, so
Yeah.
I never thought, well, maybe we ought to do this. So I'd just gotten to know Garth Brooks, and he was a starving singer, musician. And so I was with him one day and I said, hey, man, you want to make $50 and go play bass in my band? And he said, I can't play bass. And I said, well, just stand up there with the bass and act like you know what you're doing,
That's
and
right.
I'll turn it down and I'll play bass parts on my guitar most of the time. And we did that. So we still joke about that. He was the bass player for
That's
one
funny.
night. And
You
I
had
think there
Garth
was
Brooks lip syncing on bass guitar. Let's go.
exactly. So I
But
felt sorry for him. So about halfway through, I let him play the guitar and sing, and I played bass, and that
yeah,
worked pretty good. So
yeah, that worked out
we're
okay, man. Speaking of Garth, man, I got to ask about Garth's very first number one hit, which was a co-write between you two. It was, I believe, also your first number one hit. It was "If Tomorrow Never Comes." Uh, One of the biggest songs in the history of country music, in my opinion. Tell us how you guys ended up writing this song.
so um, in Nashville, you got to have all the irons in the fire that you can. And so I was playing in bands at night. I was playing on people's demos and stuff, and trying to make my days free where I could write. And so I started a demo studio where if you wrote a song just on acoustic guitar or piano, you could come into my studio and I would have musicians in there that could make your song sound more like a record. And so if you sing like me, you need people called demo singers.
Yep.
And my demo singers were who couldn't get a deal were like Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Joe Diffie, Randy Travis, Trisha Yearwood. None of these people could get deals, so they were singing for me. And so Garth had heard about my studio and thought he could make more money singing demos. At the time, he was cleaning churches and selling boots. And so he came over and he said, I want to sing some demos for you. And I said, well, you got anything I can hear? And he said, well, I've got a cassette. And he played me 6 songs. And I loved what he heard. And I said, yeah, I'll be glad to start using you. And when he was leaving that day, he turned around and said, well, I write a little bit too. And so I was thinking, okay, big career ahead of him, selling boots and cleaning churches. And so I said, well, sure, let's get together and write. And so in Nashville, like if you and I were going to get together and write a song, hopefully you would bring in some ideas and I would bring in some ideas. And so I was sitting on my couch trying to come up with some ideas for a guy that was cleaning churches and selling boots. We didn't have Google at that time. And he came in and I was sitting on my couch and he was wearing this big long duster and big cowboy boots and cowboy hat. And he looked like he was 8 feet tall. And he stood above me and he said, I got this idea. I've run by 25 writers and nobody likes it. And I kind of looked up at him from the couch and said, gee, thanks. And
Number
he got a little,
26, right?
yeah, he kind of got pissed off about it. And he said, well, don't you want to hear what I got? And I said, yeah, play me what you got. So he played me what he had. And I said, well, I love this idea. It's what my mother used to tell me, tell the people you love how you feel about them while they're still alive. And he said, well, what's wrong with it? And I said, well, you're killing somebody off in the first line of the song. There's really nowhere you can go. And so he said, what would you do? And I told him what we do, and we did it. And at the end of the day, we had this song that was If Tomorrow Never Comes. And he went up into my studio and he did a guitar vocal of it. And that can't be too bad. We pitched it around town for a year, and we pitched him around town, and nobody was interested in him or the song. And so one night he got to play one song at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville because another artist hadn't shown up for his own showcase that he was doing. And they called Garth up and said, we need somebody to come here. There's nobody up on stage. We got record producers and A&R people. And so Garth went and he sang this song. And at the end of the night, one of the people in the audience was from Capitol Records to hear the other guy. And he came up to Garth and said, look, I know I passed on you for the third time this week, so maybe we missed something. Why don't you come back in? And he went back in and he got a record deal, and it was his second single and his first number one and my first number one. So
Right. Man, it's just one of the coolest stories that I've heard from other people around town about how you and Garth just happened upon this song, and how it really kind of made one of the most iconic careers in the history of music in Garth Brooks. I feel like you have a lot of responsibility in that. I know you probably won't admit to that, but I think as a fan, that I think you do. And just an incredible song. Do you happen to remember who the guy was that he replaced up there on the Bluebird?
Um, Golly, let me think. Ralph Murphy was his name,
Wow.
and Ralph worked for ASCAP, but he was also a good singer songwriter, and he was from Ireland. And evidently, the story that I heard was somebody from Ireland called him and offered him a whole lot of money to come play a gig in Ireland. So he just left. And once again, we didn't have cell phones. He didn't tell anybody. He just left. And so he had this showcase at the Bluebird, and he didn't show up.
That was a bit of an oopsie, I would think, right? Capitol
I
Records is
think
in the
so.
audience, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's thank Ralph Murphy for Garth Brooks as well. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
And, the other guy we have to thank is Bob Doyle, who is his manager still, who actually was the one who called me and asked me if I would meet with Garth. And Bob had also worked at ASCAP, and Bob had quit his ASCAP job to manage Garth Brooks, who was cleaning churches and selling boots. And I thought, if this guy's quitting ASCAP that pays money to manage this guy, there must be something there, and so it was just a combination of things. And I tell some people the other singer that I used all the time before Garth was Billy Dean. And Billy Dean and I played in that band that I was telling you
Phenomenal
about.
voice.
Yeah, and he was women loved him. He looked great. He
Had the
sang
look.
great. He wrote great songs. And so I thought he would be the big star. And I think everybody was kind of amazed that Garth just took off like that. And, Billy, I think he got where after 2 or 3 years of doing that, he's like, this really isn't fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to know where I'm going to be 3 years from now on this day. And so he kind of walked away from it all.
Well, we're kind of excited. A little bit of a surprise for our listeners and viewers out there. We're going to include, courtesy of Backstage Nashville, a live version of Kent performing his hit song, If Tomorrow Never Comes. And we're going to include that here on the episode right now. Y'all check it out.
Well, sometimes late at night I lie awake and watch her sleeping. She lost a peaceful dream, so I turn out the light and lay there in the dark. And the thought crosses my mind, if I never wake up in the morning, would she ever doubt the way I feel about her in my heart? And if tomorrow never comes, would she know how much I loved her? And did I try in every way to show her every day she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, and she must face this world without me, is the love I gave her in the past gonna be enough to last if tomorrow never comes? I've lost loved ones in my life who never knew how much I love them. Now I live with the regret that my true feelings for them never were revealed. So I made a promise to myself to say each day how much she means to me. me, and avoid that circumstance where there's no second chance to tell her how I feel. And if tomorrow never comes, will she know how much I loved her? Did I try in every way to show her every day that she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, then she must face this world without me. Is the love I gave her in the past gonna be enough to last if tomorrow never comes? So tell that someone that you love just what you're thinking of if tomorrow never comes.
All right, so we're